So you get your girls. They're in high school for you. Are they arguing in the house? Is there?
Yes,
It's three girls.
it's girls.
What does that look like?
It looks like the normal household that has three girls that argue.
I don't
I
have
mean,
three girls. I have one girl.
okay,
So my boys wrestle.
right.
They're 6'4", 2, and then the girls 2 also.
Girls have a tendency more to say things and sometimes say hurtful things than everybody's crying. As opposed to boys work it out and it's over. You next thing you know, you're playing baseball in the backyard.
As a father, how do you deal with that? Because that's a lot. That sounds like a lot of emotions. Not that all girls are emotional,
It's
but
horrible. Honestly, I mean, because you look and girls are more emotional because there's times I can say something and walk away and all I'm doing is stating the fact, and now everybody's crying.
yeah, they reveal their emotions
And,
on the
and
outline.
so it unpacks pretty quick, and then I get in trouble from mom, and I'm just going, what? All I did was say this. She says exactly. I said, but that was right. She said, doesn't matter.
Oh,
So and that's because as a guy, we have and especially me, I'm more so okay. This is the fact. This is the facts. Let's deal with facts. Let's not put a lot of fluff around it and go forward. And that's not how the female usually functions. They function differently. And even as a dad today, there's days I still don't grab it and run with it. Okay, I still mess it up. I mean, because we think different. We function different
yeah,
than they do, and our emotions are not as close to the surface as theirs are.
yeah,
And so yeah, we'll have our certain levels of the emotional outflow, and there's sometimes as a dad you sort of just say okay, and of course then mom tells you what to do and you go do it. Okay,
that's good advice.
yeah,
That's good advice
because
if you have a wife
this,
out there.
this is how you can fix it.
Yeah,
This it's also how you not mess it up next time. But we don't listen to that one very well. It's more this is how you can fix it, and you go try to fix on it and see
Yeah.
if you can get it all patched up. But most of the time, the disgruntledness comes between your females as they're growing up. There's age differences. There's you might say at some point they will have some sort of ADHD, attention deficit disorder, because you didn't pay them enough attention. See, and as a dad, especially with girls, if you don't pay attention to them, somebody else will.
Oh, yeah.
Where do you want the influence to come from?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You, while you're trying to walk with Jesus, or somebody else who couldn't spell Jesus if you gave them all the letters?
Yeah.
Okay.
How much of that is instilled into them as they're growing up? Like you did you even think about that as they were young and try to influence that, or did that later?
When they were real young, no. I mean that's not something really going through your mind, because But then I wanted to play with my kids, so I wanted to do stuff with my kids, and still do as a dad.
Yeah.
When we get together, let's go do something. Let's go hiking. Let's go to a state park. Let's play a game so that everybody's mad at the end. That's one of those kind of deals. So that's one of the things. There's nothing that will destroy a family like playing Uno, Flipper, Monopoly. I mean, that can really mess you up, but it's fun along the way. Nothing like a draw four to just destroy fellowship.
Yep.
At the table. And and we play games, we do that stuff. But as they're growing, at some point, and as pastor, as a father, I'm reading stuff. Guys if guys aren't reading, they're not growing. Yeah, I said that out loud.
Yeah.
Don't edit that. And I'm reading stuff about teenagers. I'm reading stuff about childhood, and you're hearing things. And all of a sudden you're going, if I don't pour into my kids, somebody else is going to pour into my kids. And this is why we're homeschooling. This is why we do what we do, so we have more time and opportunity to pour into it. And you look back at everybody can look back and say, well, I have this regret and that regret. The person that says that they have really no regrets, aren't looking at everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I look up and I say, I wish I'd spent a little more time at home and a little less time at the office.
Mm. Yeah.
And especially when my kids were younger.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't matter what your work is, you can get wrapped up in it pretty easy and let it pull you away.
Yeah.
So,
if you're willing, can you unveil a little bit of that? I think we see some fathers today doing things, doing all sorts of things, but they hear that and they're like, okay, yeah, but why? What was it or what was one thing that really influenced as you look back and say, this is why I should have spent more time?
some of it's just lost opportunities. You look back and say, I wish we could do this again. I wish I could do more of that. And we enjoyed this. I wish we'd done that again.
Mm-hmm.
And even approaching a pack up everything and move moment that we're about to have. There was something that came to mind through a social media feed this morning. I looked and said, man, I always thought I was a long way from that, but that's not a long way compared to what it's about to be, and I wish I would have done that.
Yeah. Well, Terry, I did an episode a couple episodes ago, about some of the things I'm learning, and I didn't know you could change your goal. I thought once you set a goal, you either reach it or you fail, and then you have to restart. So I learned it's okay to change. That's just kind of how I grew up and thought. And then the other one was, think about your future, all those sorts of things. And you do these things I'm going to go to college. I'm going to do this. You get married and you realize, okay, you've kind of figured this out of this, how much time I have. So now I'm going to do these things successfully. You make goals. And then you have children. You realize, oh man, I don't have enough time anymore to do these goals. I've found that kind of difficult to die to myself and say, you know what? I can't do these goals because I've got to invest. And it's not that I love my children. It's not that. It's just the selfishness of, well, I'm never going to get to learn these things if I have to spend time with my children. It's not because your children, you love your children, but you just think through, you're processing that sort of thing. What would you say about that as far as how do you be excited about getting rid of those things that you can never do, and then looking into your children and saying, but this is what I get to do?
I went through some of that process because for years people around me had encouraged me to go back to school.
Perfect example.
And I don't know, I just figured they thought, well, he's not smart enough. He definitely needs help. And that's how I sort of approached that sometimes. But at the same time, I had a strong desire to go back and study some more.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're doing birth 1, birth 2, birth 3, yes, especially after birth 3, now you're looking going, how would I ever do that? But people still saying, hey, you should do this. You should do this. I haven't been told that probably since June. I had somebody saying, you need to come back to school. But it was the provost of a seminary that was doing. He's trying to get me to come back to school.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm looking and saying, I just don't know I can do that right now. And part of it, I'm still looking at my kids. Is everybody settled yet? See, and the answer is no. We're still in flux in some things, in process. Maybe is a good way to put that. Mm-hmm. But as I would work through these things, and there's times I sat and looked and say, hey, this guy's got a good doctorate of ministry program. This school's got this program. Even looked at programs, looked at prices. That discourages you pretty quick. But I'm looking and saying, okay, but then the decision starts coming back. We're homeschooling our kids.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay? And when you're homeschooling kids, probably with the exception of kindergarten, probably in these days, you're looking at $500 to $1,200, $1,300 a year, depending on how many kids you have in the system.
Yeah.
That's just for we're looking up and saying, this is the literature I need. Because your tax dollars have gone to the public school system. And so you have to come up with this money yourself. You have to come up with this. And, when we were in Oklahoma, there was even a bill that was pushing its way through this our legislature there, that they were going to try to provide some tax waivers and some money to come back to the kids, to your parents that were looking and saying, yeah, we could use this to buy a curriculum. And we went and met our legislature in Oklahoma City at the Capitol and asked him to vote against it. Here's why. There's always strings attached.
Mm.
And with the federal government, it's not just strings, it's chains. And they want to bind you to teaching certain things the way they're. So you have to decide, how do you want to raise your kids, and then pick your curriculum based on the biblical principles you want to impart into them throughout, no matter what the course is. And so as we're looking at that, we're saying this is an investment we're making for our children. I've got to give up mine so they can get theirs. And you talked about goals, and so it becomes a matter of reassessing goals. And sometimes you look up and say, big picture, these are better goals.
Yes.
Because you can pour your life into your Jesus into your children through a homeschool process, or even just through the basic, being the mom and dad whose kids are in public school. You still pour it in. And sometimes you're going to have to give up something to be able to do that with efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
And the result that you want to see it as the psalmist says, in your children's children's children.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have an impact at your job, no matter what it is, and be positive. And you can pour in 80 hours a week into your job, and it be fine. But your kids are going to miss some of you, and you're going to miss some pouring in. And those things are hard. I mean, you go back and say, well, I have regrets. Yeah, I mean, I wish I would have spent more time with my kids instead of more time at my office. Some things as a pastor are sort of unavoidable. When the phone rings and there's a crisis, you get up and go. And that's just how it is. Mm-hmm. And your family grows to understand all that. And they live with it and work with it. But that means for them to live with that means you're having to pour in at other times, and you're giving time back.
Yeah.
So I look up and say, well, if I have these goals, because I set reading goals for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So many books.
Yep.
And still do. I work off of Goodreads, and that's how I keep score with the Goodreads. And so you can do that. And, I started doing that. I was reading 18, 20 books a year, not a month. And that's excluding the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
That's different reading.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I read through annually. So you read, somebody wrote something, you're reading it. Well, my goals continually increased, but at some point I capped it, and I wasn't going over about 30.
Yeah.
Because it was kid time. It was kid time. Now as the kids have progressed and moved on, right now, this year my goal is 40.
Yeah.
With an impending move, I'm not sure I'm going to hit that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll probably hit at least 38, which I read 40 last year.
Yeah.
My goal was 38. So,
well, Terry, this is the one thing I love about this podcast is there is no perfect dad. There's no professional PhD dad. It's like, no, we could just be you're a dad. I mean, that's it. And you learn from that. And so the beauty of those who have children that are older, they look back and they say those things or whatever, and we hear it and we say, oh man, what do I need to do now to invest in that time and think about it? And as you were talking, I just thought of the cross. I just thought of, the Son of God leaving heaven, being born in human flesh in the middle of nowhere, no one, not looking good. Like he could have chose all these alternatives, and yet he chose the most humbling way to give his life as a ransom for us. And, that's what I'm saying. He went to the point of death, and as a father, like, that's what we have that opportunity to serve our children. It's not about us. It's about, working in them and letting them see the Father. So thanks for sharing that, Terry. Sure. We're coming up. We just passed 1 hour. Yeah, I know it went quick. I want to ask because you're leaving us, so I won't. It's going to be hard to ever record you unless we travel and I'm on the way. I want to ask one more question that deals with your girls and the father. Now, they're in a stage of where they can get married at any point.
Yes.
How do you have? What does the conversations look like? Because with that, like with your girls, as far as courtship and marriage and balancing.
One of the things that we've taught them early on, and this is an outflow of your reading. Okay, remember, guys, if you're not reading, you're not growing. You got to do something. If it's a book on tape, fine, get it and read it. As you do whatever it is you do.
That's right.
Somebody read it to you. That way you can have. It's easier to pronounce the big words if somebody else is pronouncing them. Okay. So my brother over here is struggling while he goes sanctification.
Yep. Yep.
The idea that we look up and say, what do I want my daughter to experience in married life?
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to go back how she chooses. And there's a couple of books that have been influential for me in putting these concepts into my daughter. One of them was, it's actually two books in that one. It's called The Four Pillars of a Man's Heart. And the other one is his companion book, which fleshes out what he proposes there. Actually, it's the main book. Is Tender Warrior. Tender Warrior first, then Four Pillars of a Man's Heart, which fleshes out everything he puts out in Tender Warrior. The writer describes man as a design of God from the Garden of Eden, as a king, a warrior, a mentor, and a friend.
Mm-hmm.
And you go back to the Garden of Eden, you see all those things in Adam, and you can see how Adam blows it in every one of those things, and ends up with the mess we have today as a result of sin. So you start understanding king, warrior, mentor, friend, those concepts, those are important. You also, another book that I read, this was probably when my daughters were, first one was in the late teens, probably 17 or 18 or so. It was called What He Must Be to Marry My Daughter by Vodi Bakum.
Yep. It's right up there.
Yeah.
Right up there on the shelf.
Good book. And he uses the concept he uses are from Scripture, and they fit into very easily the other concept. We've called our kids, your husband needs to be a godly man. First and foremost, he's a follower of Jesus. Otherwise, you can't date him, because you don't want to fall in love with somebody that is not a follower of Jesus, because you'll be tempted to marry them, and that's not God's plan for your life. Because it's very clear in Scripture that you're not supposed to be unequally yoked. So you want your daughters to find a godly man. So that element's there. He's supposed to have the spiritual aspect to him, that he is the leader of the home. He's a follower of Jesus. As a king, that element should be there, is that he has wisdom and understanding on how to lead his family. People will say, well, all that king, queen stuff, those concepts are scary. He wants to be the big boss. Well, no, he's supposed to be answering to God. He's not the big boss. And as you do that, you fall under the leadership of the Lord, and your daughters fall under the leadership of God and the leadership of their husband. And everybody's going the same direction. See?
Yeah.
That's the key there. For them to find somebody that's not a believer, they're not going to be going the same direction. He's supposed to be a warrior. He's supposed to be ready to defend the honor of my daughters.
Good word.
And it's not just coming out and say, well, yeah, I'm going to beat you up because you were ugly to my wife. No, that's not it. You're able to defend her honor verbally. You don't want to have to fight anybody over it. Sometimes it's just getting her out of the situation that she might be in where she could be offended. And, that's that warrior's a protector as well. The king looks down the road and says, hey, if we continue this direction that we're on in our walk with Jesus, where are we going to be in 5 or 10 years? better or worse. And he applies that concept to every element of this family life. He is a mentor. He's a teacher. And primarily, your first and foremost idea is that your wife would marry somebody that can instruct them in the ways of the kingdom and God's things. So they have a handle on that, so they understand where the things of God and the ways of God. That means you're in the Word. They're finding a guy that's reading his Bible. They're finding a guy that is looking up and saying, I need to have deeper conversations with Jesus. How do I carve out that time? In today's young people, okay, I'm going to have to give up at least 30 minutes of Halo. I'm going to have to give up 30 minutes of my Instagram or my tick in the talk. I've got to do something. I'm not a TikTok fan. Sorry.
Yeah. Man, I got to add some of these sound pieces in here for some of the things you just said.
Oh, no.
Golly. I don't know what sound pieces are here, so I don't want to push it. But yeah.
There's some things there that, he's got to make decisions to carve out time. And so he's king, he's warrior, he's mentor, he's friend. Well, it's friend, and the way that writer puts it, it's friend-lover, friend/lover. And the idea is that he is to love his wife. Jesus, as Paul describes it, as Christ loved the church, gave himself up for her. Well, shoot, a king's going to do that for his kingdom. A good king will. A warrior will in a heartbeat. You go back to the concept of knights and chivalry. That's where this pours into that. He is the teacher. He's showing her the right things to do, the right ways to go. But he's a lover too. He loves them, and it encompasses all of the biblical Greek terminology of love. Whether it's the physical, sexual love. If he loves his wife, that's only for her. It's not for the neighbor's wife. Mm-hmm. It's not for the gal on the street corner in the big city that you're at a business meeting on. It's not for the gal on the internet. Again, because most of America, males are engaged in pornography. Mm-hmm. You can't love your life if Christ loved the church. You can't love your neighbor yourself if you're looking at that stuff. Doesn't work.
Yes.
It's not biblical.
Yep.
And it brings brokenness into your spirit and into your life as on a level is that you're breaking the image of God. God's created you in his image, and you're taking a hammer and chisel of that and trying to reshape it because you want to reshape what love is in your heart, in your mind, in your heart, and how you see your wife. Because you're looking at somebody else instead of her. Mm-hmm. And it brings more brokenness. It doesn't help you. And so it's physical. That element of love and friendship is devoted to her. It's emotional. Guys will engage in conversations with women innocently, and the next thing you know, if they're not careful, they're sharing things with that person they won't even share with their wife. Mm-hmm. And they become emotionally engaged, and it becomes an emotional adultery. Mm-hmm. Because they're unpacking things with them and opening up to them. And that eventually will end up in a physical relationship if it doesn't stop. Mm-hmm. Just how it works. Mm-hmm. It's brokenness. And so it's a physical thing. It's an emotional thing. It's a spiritual thing. I mean, there's a spirit that it's of devotion that overcomes everything else. You don't even consider another woman. Mm-hmm. Why? Why? Sometimes you'll get stuff in your email. I've got an email address that goes back to the late 90s. And there's all sorts of junk email. And there for a while, there was this stuff that was showing up. I don't know where it came from. They sell your email address. And, would you like a Filipino bride? Or would you like a bride from East Asia or Eastern Europe? And I'm going, there's 4 women in my house. I've got one wife already. What? Even the cat's a girl. What do I want another one for? I can't deal with what I've got. And
yeah.
No. But there's always going to be an offer to break your life. Mm-hmm. It's not an offer to better. It's an offer to break it.
Yeah.
And so when you look and say, are you the friend and lover? I mean, you're engaged on a level with this woman that doesn't match anything else. And so when I'm talking to my girls, and we've had conversations even up until recently, what are you looking for? What's this guy? What does he look like? They bring one home. Dad's going to look and say, hey, let's go out to the backyard, sit and have a conversation. Let's talk about, tell me about yourself. So, can you look at a specific place or time? Do you have a specific place or time where you ask Christ to come into your life, forgive you your sins, and be your Lord and Savior?
Mm-hmm.
And I expect guys that they bring home to be able to answer that question accurately.
Yeah. Yep.
If they can't, I'm going, all right, he's out. Next.
I'm with you, brother.
Because all you're going to do when you bring in an unbeliever into your home, either they're fixing to get saved or they're fixing to create a train wreck in your life. One or the other. Because that's how it is. Because you're going different directions in life. And you're not going to want them to grab your daughter and take them away from you. Yeah, they're going to get married. They're going to move off. They're going to have children, all that stuff. But taking them away from you is not a physical thing. It's a spiritual thing. Because if y'all are walking with Jesus, we're all going the same direction.
That's right. Yep.
So it begins to be this mental, emotional, and spiritual departure from you. And we're not even talking about them moving off.
Yeah.
They could live next door to you, and you'd still have the same problem.
Mm-hmm.
They would have moved away spiritually. So we've poured those things into our kids. These are the things you look for. These are the things we want you to find, because this will give you the best opportunity to have a life that honors God.
Yeah. Man, Terry, thanks for sharing that. So we got to come to a close here. Let me give you just a kind of summary question for you. One, as you look back on your early years as a father, what is one thing that you are grateful for that you did? And then number two, what last words would you want to share to any fathers out there right now?
One thing I was grateful for, I think more than anything else, I'm grateful for the wife that I had that poured her love and God's love into my children. Because I can't buy that. I can buy a self-help book, and there's a lot of good ones out there.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my mom got me one when we first started had girls. It was called She Calls Me Daddy. Good book, because it takes parenting from a dad's perspective that's fathering girls.
Mm-hmm.
I needed that, because that's all I had.
Yeah.
And no, we didn't go for, after we had 3, we didn't go for another one. We didn't say, let's get that boy.
Yeah.
I had a friend that had 3 girls. He went for another one. They had twin girls. So he has 5 girls. So that was my encouragement right there.
Yeah.
I ain't we doing that again.
Yeah. Wow.
So he jumps from 3 to 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we didn't want to. But looking at saying, okay, this, and one of the things that I'd look at, say, firm but gracious. You got to be firm, but at the same time, gracious. My kids growing up didn't think I could count. All the parents around us, they would go 1, 2,
Yes.
and 2.5.
Yeah.
My kids didn't know I could count to 3. And here's why. When they were early on, one of those books that I'd read, the chapter was talking about this, and it said, you're firm, but you're gracious, but you're still firm. You don't let them get away with everything. And things we taught our kids. You obey me the first time.
Yes.
At some point, that may be critical for your health and well-being, but it's always critical for your spiritual well-being.
That's right.
And because the scripture says they're supposed to obey their parents, and we didn't want to have, it eliminated a lot of arguments, eliminated some of the whining, not all of it, but some of it, because they grew up with the expectation that when mom or dad said to do something, that's when they were supposed to do it. And that concept is not just something that's make life easier for us. That's a God principle. When God speaks, he expects you to do what he tells you to do, not to put it off.
Wow.
So we're trying to pour that, because that's a God principle that we learned that we wanted to pour back into our kids. So the result was firm but gracious. They don't know that we can count past 3. I mean, they've never heard us go 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. So bullet point wise, what last word would you give to dads out there?
To the dads, I would say your first obligation is always to love your wife. That is more important than anything you will ever do with your children. Because if your kids see you love their mother, that changes the world.
Yeah.
Because then they know that you'll love them. If they see you trashing their mom and messing with their mom in a negative fashion, whether it's verbal abuse or physical abuse, they're going to perceive that that could be them one day, and you never want them to think that is the proper model for marriage. The first priority you have as a dad is to love the mother of your children.
Wow. Man, good word, Terry. Thanks for the discussion. I know it's value added to all of us, especially for me. And so we appreciate you coming in and taking your time once again.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. As always, if there are questions or comments or ideas or thoughts, just whatever it is that you have, go ahead and email us at practicaldadpodcast@gmail.com. Again, that is practicaldadpodcast@gmail.com.